Good afternoon, Mr. LaRouche. I'm Albert Philippi from New York. I've been following you for decades, since '75, actually, back when I was at Stony Brook. A lot of the information has panned out, and I have seen like a lot of the fusion information as well as the space technology information has gone from being public information to classified information. And now they're pushing that into privatized corporate structures that only serve the British Empire and other structures like that, other empires. I mean. My question is, how do we make the transition from this current system of presidency and the United States and make our Constitution basically global and do that successfully when you're going to, right off the bat, when you get rid of Obama, you're going to alienate at least half of this country.
No.
And fighting among them.
No, not at all.
See, the thing is, a lot of the politicians, like Nancy Pelosi, just made an announcement about a few weeks ago. They're allowing these politicians to get rich from insider trading information. So you're basically saying, we're going to cut off your gravy train so we can make a change that's going to help the entire world. There's no guarantee this is going to work. But I know you're going to need money to survive. You're not going to have that. So how do we justify, or how do we change these politicians' minds when they think they're doing this for their own personal survival?
Well, they're not really most of these politicians are not really that kind of person these days. What you have is a depressed political class among the members of Congress. They are giving in, they're going along to get along. They don't have the guts to do anything. And most of the things they do wrong are simply a result of the lack of guts to do right. I know many of these politicians previously. I know, in my nature of my work, I know the international situation intimately, including high levels of governments. I know generally the high levels of our own government in the United States. We have personal contact with them and in various ways. I know them. The majority of the American people want no part of this president. They want him out, period. And they will not accept anything until you tell them you're throwing them out. They have become demoralized because they fear that this president is going to remain president. And they say they're enraged. They're at the point of the enraged that you can expect violence, which comes from when hopeless rage provokes violence. And there's no way that, and this is not a race question, because Obama is the enemy of Africa. The British Empire is the enemy of Africa. Africa is a colony of the British Empire. It's a homicidal reign of the British Empire over Africa. And there are very few people who are intelligent who believe that Obama is a friend of the black people. It's a nonsense thing. He's a disease, not a person. He's a mental disease. He's an exact copy psychologically of the Emperor Nero. Go look at the Emperor Nero's record. It's all over the place. Look at it. That's your Obama. And that's what he did, and that's what he will do. That's what he's doing. You are not going to have a United States unless you throw this bum out, and quick. We can't wait for the next election. We won't have a nation by that time. He's got to be thrown out now. If he's not thrown out now, forget the United States is dead, and most of the people in it. And we'll probably have a thermonuclear war on top of that. So if you want to prevent those things from happening, if you care about the nation enough to prevent those things from happening, you're going to throw them out. And you will find that you will get the greatest applause you ever imagined from the majority of the American people the minute this guy goes out of office. Because then they will begin to believe that they can do something. Right now we have a population, it's gone through over the period from Obama's presidency acquisition, from 2008, the summer of 2008, when they began to hate him. Because he's a murderer. He's exactly the murderer I described. They began to hate him. And they got to hate him more. Then they became not hateful, but despairing. And that's dangerous. No guts. We've got to give the American people back their guts. Because the politicians don't have the guts, except for a few. It's not that they're bad. They just don't have the guts. And having no guts in a war is rather bad thing to have. And therefore, we have to, who care, must at all risk do what we must to save this civilization. And the fact that we will do that, and that the more of us will do that, will give courage back to our friends and neighbors. And after all, this system is based on the idea of trying to have friends and neighbors, not always quarrels. We're trying to find the common interests of mankind, which we can serve. And we're trying to define the terms of cooperation that are the actual urgent priorities for mankind now, to agree on those priorities and to take on the other issues as well. And we'll find that if we find ourselves cooperating to common issues, we'll come to agreements. Because if we have very much that we prize in our neighbor, in our agreement with our neighbor, we find it easy to agree with them on other things or to find a way of working it out. And the fact that we're now in a situation where people are desperate because they have no confidence that anything good is going to happen. They are essentially enraged. And those who are not enraged actively are despondent. They're terrorized. They're saying nothing is going to work. We have to restore confidence in the people in themselves. And confidence of the people in themselves is giving them back their authority. And those of us who are leaders and who have proven that we can take the heat of doing what I do, are able to lead. And there are a lot of people out there who will be easily able to lead if we make it possible for them to have confidence that they can do it. I've got it all throughout the United States. People who were, angry a few years ago are now despairing. They're sitting there just saying, there's nothing we can do. There's no hope for us. There's nothing that's going to happen that's do us any good. And they're sitting there terrorized by that kind of situation. And they've lost their confidence. Those of us who have the courage to stand up and the capability to stand up and present the alternative have as a chief job to bring the confidence of our people back, the confidence in themselves, the confidence that what they're doing means something. And right now the problem with most people out there, when they see the conditions of their neighbors, for example, they see the neighbors are being destroyed, and they say, we're next. And they're sitting there telling themselves, there's not a damn thing we can do about it. My job is to say the things that have to be said, which will give the people back the courage to say, yes, I will say that too. And once that starts, we've won.